Thanks for tuning in to the Loser Kid Pinball Podcast. We're on episode 139 with me, my co-captain, as always,
Scott Larson.
And I am Josh Roop. And Scott, before we get talking about the wide array of notes that I've jotted down for our wonderful episode, why don't you tell us about our sponsor?
Well, so there's Flipping Out Pinball. So if you want those new Jaws accessories, if you're a completionist and you need to have every single thing for your Jaws, then go ahead and they have armor kit. They have the topper, which we'll talk about, and the the side art, the internal art, the holographic image that has Jaws coming out and eating you. If just ask Zach about it. He'll set something up. So go ahead and contact Zach and Nicole Minnie at Flipping Out Pinball, and they will hook you up.
I want to give a quick shout out to their technician, Greg Bone.
Yeah,
had some issues with Jaws. And it was as simple as like, just leave the game on for like 5 or 6 hours. It was just like, as you're playing, it says SD card validation error or something like that.
Oh.
And so he's like, yeah, just leave your game on for like 5 or 6 hours, turn it off, and then play it again. See if that does it. And if not, swap out the card. If not, then we'll go further. And it was cool because like I did that and then I forgot that I'd done that. And then he followed up. He was like,
hey, tell me about it.
Fix it? Yeah. So like I love customer service like that. Like they're making sure you're getting taken care of. You know? Yeah. So just a shout out to Greg. So
yeah, Greg's a good guy.
So everyone is down there. Okay, so before we get going,
okay.
Well, this is part of getting going. We did the Stern tour, right?
We did, yeah.
And I feel bad because no one's really. Maybe someone's talked about this. Maybe Triple Drain. But at the end of the tour, Dwight Sullivan pulled us aside and he said it would be a huge favor to me if you tell people if you're coming to Expo this year.
Mm-hmm.
Go to Dwight's. He does a game show every year. And last year,
wasn't it Saturday? Did he say it was Saturday?
It's Saturday. It's always like the last one on Saturday. And it's a game show. And like a couple years ago, it was like Family Feud style.
Mm-hmm.
This one is Let's Make a Deal. He did it last year. And they give away immaculate prizes. They gave away a freaking Mando topper this last go around.
Yeah, no, Dwight's a good guy, and if you question anything about Dwight's commitment to pinball and his enthusiasm, then go to this because you will see he does not hold back. He is all in, and he's super excited about everything.
And it's just funny to me because Dwight's like a really, really lovable guy. Like if you don't know him on a personal level, go to Pinball Expo, get to meet the man. Buy him a cookie and he'll love you for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. Like it's funny because I did Let's Make a Deal, right? And I ended up with some extra tickets, but I didn't have enough to get like the banner or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I just went to Dwight and I was like, Dwight, come on, dude. Like I'm like 5 ticket shorts or whatever.
Please, sir, can I have a banner?
And he's like, no ticket, no, no banner. And I was like,
passing. Yeah,
and it's funny because I just thought I'm the kind of guy like, what's the worst that's going to happen if you ask? They're going to say no. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, you said no. Cool. So I walked off. Dwight comes up to me at the Stern tour. And he's like, Josh, I want to tell you, I'm really sorry about telling you no.
Oh, that's fine.
Like, Dwight, you're good. He's like, oh, that makes my heart feel better. And I was like, you were worried about that with me, dude? Like, I just asked you.
This is, I'm pretty sure this is a Wayne Gretzky quote, where you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Exactly.
So, it's okay. The bottom line is they can always say no. So, but no, he's a good guy.
Yeah, and like people don't get offended if they have to say no. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. So definitely go to Let's Make a Deal. He definitely makes it entertaining and worthwhile. And to be blunt, you're going to be tired of playing pinball, and so go in and take a little decompression game show.
It was pretty fun. I think Dwight purposely didn't pick me, and I was saying some pretty random stuff. Like, because that's the thing. Like, they come into the audience. He's like, he picks people from the audience, right? And so if you dress up, it gives you a better chance. There's just different things. And Ellen and I were sitting there, and we were joking back and forth about some stuff. But I think at one point, he asked, like, "Tell me something unique or interesting about yourself." And I just yelled out the first thing that came to my mind. I was like, I've got a third nipple.
Do you?
No. Yes, no, maybe.
Okay.
And Dwight must have heard me because he went to go turn. I think he saw me out of the corner of his eye, and then he turned back like, yeah, I'm not acknowledging that.
Okay. All right. I didn't know about your thruple, but okay.
Yeah, my thruple. Yeah. I didn't know it either till after I got married, and my wife works at the OB and explained. She's like,
yeah, okay. if you have like a mole that's on your nipple line, that's actually
No,
a high possibility. It's
no,
not it's not functional, just so you know.
no, it's not. Yeah. Okay, we're moving on.
Okay. You
I'd
brought it
be.
up. You
I
brought it
did
up.
bring it up. I
Okay.
did. I'm gonna regret this for the rest of my life.
Yep.
Uh,
Which side is that on, left or right?
I can't remember. I think the left. I don't know.
Okay.
I
All
c
right. As he checks
it's
himself.
tiny. It's seriously.
Okay.
I thought it was like a freckle for the most part of my life.
Okay.
Just like
All right.
you
All
know what
right.
I'm saying.
Okay.
Anyhow, all right.
Meanwhile,
Let's talk about the thing that everyone's just ranting and raving about right now.
okay.
Jaws accessories.
Okay.
So what these revealed yesterday, there
Okay.
was a 2-minute sizzle reel.
Yep.
What did they show? The shooter rod, inner art blades,
Yep.
topper, speaker lights,
And they showed side armor.
side armor, yes, which is pretty much the LE but in black instead of white,
Yeah.
which
Okay.
is great.
Okay.
Okay, what's your initial thoughts, Scott?
Okay. I'm gonna save the topper for last
Okay.
because I think that's where we're going to get a lot of
Yep.
our juice. Okay.
Yes. Yep.
I'm a little okay. I actually do like that the side armor is similar to the LE.
Yep.
I do like that because in many ways it feels I've never understood this, but like on Godzilla LE, okay?
Okay.
You see the side armor and then you see the LE and you're asking yourself, why didn't the LE have this side armor?
Yeah.
Because it's cooler.
You
Like
think this is
the
cooler than the white?
no. But what I'm saying is this is similar. Like, it has the bite out of it. It gives a little bit, so it looks cool, but it doesn't like upstage the LE. I think the LE is great. And the bottom line is if you want to powder coat that and make it white but this one also has like the Jaws logo in it, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So does the LE have that?
We really should have done our research.
Okay, no, legitimately. I don't remember seeing the LE having that.
I don't remember it
Okay,
either.
because that's the thing that jumped out at me. What jumped out at me is that I was like, "Oh, that's interesting that there's even, like, something a little, like, more custom on that."
Yeah.
So that surprised me a little bit, but I don't think it's a huge deal, and so
No.
that was my question, is there a big enough difference on this?
Um, I think so. I mean, the one they keep showing it on is the premium, and I think it looks really great with the blue
Sure.
and with Brody harpooning Bruce.
Yep.
Um, no, I agree with you. I feel like this one pops more than the white,
Yeah,
but
it's, but, it's, so that's the only thing that really surprises me because in some ways, when you have the LE, you kind of expect that you're gonna have the best version of everything, right?
yeah.
And
Well,
so that's what surprised me a little bit about Godzilla is it the King Ghidorah? Is that what it or
yeah.
no, yeah, it has that. It
The three
looks
headed like the
yeah,
Hydra.
it
Yeah.
looks really cool on the side armor, but it doesn't seem to have that same pop on the LE. So I was wondering, now having a Jaws logo, is that a big deal or is it kind of hit or miss? I didn't think that was as much of a big deal.
So I just pulled up the LE on Pinside, and
Okay.
you're right. It doesn't have the Jaws
Doesn't have it.
logo.
Yep, that's what I
But then
thought.
again, on the side art, you've got a massive logo that says Jaws right below the bite.
Yeah, so would it be like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles topper where it has turtles?
Yeah, it probably would have.
Yeah.
So at
Okay.
least on the premium, you don't have Jaws on the side. It's literally just Brody fighting the shark.
Okay.
So ta-da. Okay.
All right. So there's
I
that.
I think I agree with you on this. I personally do like the black better. But I do think the white pops really well on the LE because of the way that it's a lot of blue. And
Yeah.
so there's yeah. I think honestly, I think the LE art was kind of done around the white trim.
But didn't Michael also say it was kind of from an underneath, like an under the sea view?
Yeah. Yep.
So it makes sense to do it that way. So I think it's nice. It doesn't feel like it's upstaging the LE, but it does give a different option.
250. Is that too much or just right?
Uh, if you powder coat a game, how much does it cost?
I don't know. I've never power coded a game. You
It's
asked.
$300. It's
Okay.
$300.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you go to the effort yourself to take all your armor off, and you have to take it in, powder coat it. So if you are upgrading the look of your game for about $300 to, so
Yeah.
shipping with tax or whatever, that's about right.
Yeah.
It is totally a luxury purchase. There is no need to buy these unless you really like the look of them.
Yeah.
But they are kind of fun. Like I got the B. Arthur katanas for Deadpool,
Nice.
and it's just a very small thing. Um, it's a way of accessorizing if you want to do that. I don't think it's required for this one, but you do notice it, especially with the shark bite on it.
Yeah, definitely.
There are people even selling like aftermarket, basically knockoff side armor with the bite out of it,
Yeah.
and I bet those are 150 or something like that.
Yeah. So for an officially licensed product,
Right.
you're not doing too bad
Yeah. So
based off of
it's fun. That's the only side armor I've ever bought is for the Deadpool. But
okay.
I'm glad I have it. It's Deadpool is one of those games where I really don't think I'll sell it because
It
it's a
is
fast, fun, short game.
yes, it really is. It's a good game. All right,
So
let's
so
move on. Let's move
so
on to
I would
oh,
say
go ahead.
thumbs up, good price.
Okay. Inner Art Blades. Um, if you've listened to this podcast before, I assume you have. I'm not a huge fan of Inner Art Blades. Like they're good. Don't
Okay,
get me
I
wrong.
like art blades. So
Okay.
I'm an art blade guy. I'll
Okay.
let you say your piece and then I'll tell you why you're wrong.
I do like that it adds more ambiance to the game. I will give it that.
Okay.
I just think that Mirror Blades gives more pop to a game, and I just haven't felt like there's a game where the Art Blades are better than the Mirror Blades for the game. That's just me. So
Okay. I had mirror blades on Iron Man, and the
you
mirror blades looked really good.
you have them on your Attack from Mars. Your
Yeah,
maybe not
yeah.
your Medieval Madness, and you have them
No,
on your
no,
Monster
Medieval
Battles.
Madness, I don't. I actually still have the black on my Medieval Madness.
Okay.
There are I'm looking over there. Cactus Canyon has the side art, has the inner art because it came with it, and I believe that's mirror blades on Monster Bash.
Yes. Yep.
So it's I do like inner art because it feels when I put them on my Spider-Man, it really made the game stand out because it felt like you were entering Spider-Man's world because it had the buildings on both sides and it looked really cool. So I do like that. And I also like that they made it environmental.
Yeah.
So that was my issue with Mandalorian because Mandalorian, the blades that they're selling, and usually they're selling something that's different than the LE, right?
Yeah.
That's the
Hmm.
whole point of an LE is you get something exclusive that is not available to other people. Usually it's comparable though. So, like, for like turtles, the inner blades were comparable to the LE. They weren't the same, but they were comparable. I didn't like Mandalorian where it had the faces. I thought that looked weird. It didn't feel environmental. It felt like, hey, here's a billboard for faces of Mandalorian characters. Um, so I do like these because they do have that sea look and it flows with the playfield because the playfield is an ocean.
Yep.
And really, if you're looking for a visual impact, $100.
Yeah.
It, it,
It's a
it's
pretty
worth
cheap
it.
upgrade. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's a cheap upgrade for that.
Relatively, I know this is all subjective, right? Like
Okay, but $100 is not. That is not unreasonable.
it's
That
sorry. It's just funny because it reminds me of a story at work. I fixed like someone's
okay,
air conditioner. It was like $95 with the part and everything. I was pretty
okay,
proud.
sure.
They're, they're like, so what is my cost? And I was like, you got out relatively cheap. It was $95.
Hmm.
And they looked at me and the homeowner says, man, you must wipe your butt with $100 bills. I was like, no,
I'll
no,
do it
I
with
do
this
not.
one. Yeah,
And
no,
they're like,
it's
well, $95 is expensive to me. And I was like, oh, okay.
Well, I mean, this is an apocryphal story, but it's told in various forms, right? Where a person takes in their car or a nuclear sub or whatever it is. They're like, "It's making this funny sound. I don't know what's going on." So they call the technician, and technician comes in, looks at it, and pulls out, pulls out a hammer or a wrench or whatever, and like gets in there for 5 minutes, turns a few things, and then says, "Okay, that'll be $10,000 or whatever the money
Yeah.
is."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh my gosh, that's stupid. I could do that." And he's like, "I want an itemized bill." And he's like, "Okay." And so he itemized it, the technician, he or she, and says, turning screw or tightening bolt, $5. Knowing which bolt to tighten, $10,000. It's kind of along those lines. I mean,
Yeah. Yep.
and I've used this. I've joked around because there's a lot of times in my job where I'm watching surgeries happen. Yeah, there's a little more at the beginning, a little more at the end, but for the most part, I'm there, and I was joking about that with one of the surgeons, and the surgeon said, "Actually, you're not compensated for what you do. You're more compensated for what you know.
Yep.
Because if something happens, then you spring into action, you can say, and you can do something." So it's similar to if I hire a heating and air conditioning person that comes over and they fix something in 2 minutes, great, because I didn't have to spend 5 hours trying to figure out what it was.
Yep. I agree. All right, let's move on to the shooter rod.
Okay.
You're grabbing a barrel, and honestly, hasn't this been floating around as like mod makers
Yeah.
have
Oh
been
yeah.
making this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I went. Well, I get. Okay. I'll go first on this. I actually don't like the aftermarket shooter rods. I don't. They feel different. They shoot different, and I've always been frustrated from an engineering standpoint that there is when you pull back the rod, there's a conservation of momentum that when you're moving a mass forward and it hits a silver ball, it's going to transfer that momentum to the ball. This may be a little deep in the woods, but it's
Stay with us.
really
Stay with
yeah,
us.
it's really hard to get the same sort of mass in an aftermarket shooter rod because it's usually heavier. And they've had problems with this. Like the I bought the little egg thing for Avengers Infinity Quest, and I hate it because it doesn't it's too heavy. It doesn't actually work with the spring associated with the rod. And from an engineering standpoint, it frustrates me because you should compensate for that. That is an easy playtest thing. To be blunt, I'm pointing now. Okay. So I bought the shooter thing for Rush, which is cool because it has the little flash thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
on
I can see
YouTube,
it
you
from
can
here.
actually see it behind me. Okay.
Yep.
The thing is enormous. It's like a Hostess cupcake.
Okay.
And if you pull it all the way back, it does not go, the ball does not fly all the way around. Now, and the skill shots on Rush are short plunges anyway, so it's not as huge of a deal. And I only bought it because I wanted to be a completionist for Rush because I got the topper, I got the LE, I got that.
Because it's your favorite. It brushes is
Right.
your jam.
That's my band. I'm good with that. And the topper actually looks really cool. It was kind of expensive, but it looks really cool. But the shooter rod, I bought that really to be a completionist, but it's not as good as the original. The original is better, and Avengers Infinity Quest had the same issue. And I'm not sure why they make these rods that are significantly heavier than what the spring supports. And this could be an easy playtest. Like put it in one of your games and just see if it works. It feels like it's phoning it in a little bit. So I don't know if this one's going to have the same problem, but I typically don't like the feel of aftermarket ones.
Well, and my question too is, I don't know how much of this is being produced at Stern. I if I
Do
and
you
how
think
much
they're
of it's being
outsourcing it?
outsourced.
Maybe.
Because like this is one thing Gomez talked about, right? On our interview with him is like, well, if they do an order for like 1,000 of these, they can do cheaper price on the topper. But then if they only do an order of 200 of them, like because they have to get the product from different people and stuff like
Right.
that. So I
Well,
don't know how much of this is
that's
actually assembled.
manufacturing at scale. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, we've seen that with
Yeah.
if you're making 5,000 games or 100 games, the bill of material is going to be different.
So my question is, I wonder if they even do I wonder if this is one of the things where it just gets shipped to Stern in a box and it's ready to go and they just ship it out, or if they actually manufacture in house. I feel like most of it.
I suspect it's made outside.
I think so too, and it's a
It's
simple
by
question
design. It's
we
probably
could ask.
designed at Stern.
Yeah,
It's designed by someone who's associated with the license.
yeah. They design it, they ship it out. The person makes the cast of it. They yeah.
But
So
it is a mechanical part. It doesn't feel that the mechanical considerations are going into the shooter rod the way it should be.
yep.
And that directly interacts with the game.
Yep.
So I intentionally did not buy it for Godzilla.
Same here. I don't buy them at all because of what you just said. They're $150. I feel like they hinder the game instead of enhance the game. I just don't feel like it's a smart
I eh,
investment.
over my other shoulder though, I'm pointing to the Jurassic Park one,
Yeah,
which is really cool looking. Okay, it's kind of ridiculous. It is cool looking because it lights up, but
yeah,
really everybody on Jurassic Park's just hitting the button to auto launch it.
it's true. Alrighty, the speaker light system, and this is new for Jaws, but I think this is gonna go on most games moving forward.
It should also go back to some of their previous games, I believe.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go first on this one. I
Hey,
think
go ahead.
first off, I think this is a brilliant idea. Pinball collectors, we like shiny, bright things, and
Mhm.
this is shiny, bright. It interacts. I haven't seen this in person yet, but like the way that it does the radar and ties in with the actual fish finder in the game, that's really cool. The
Mhm.
blood effect, it does that. I just think this is a really cool idea. And the thing I love about this is because it is universal from game to game, I feel like it's going to be more readily available. Unlike some of these other products, it's
Yeah,
pretty much like we
like the
might get
Rush
it.
expression lights that I don't
Yeah,
even know if they finished making.
yeah, and so that's the thing is like when you make a product where it can be made from game to game,
Mhm.
like a shaker motor or an expression light kit for your speakers, I I, I think it's a simple way to enhance your game. And I mean, let's just be honest. Like mod makers have been doing speaker light expression, or like they've been doing speaker lights for a little while now.
Mhm.
So this isn't a shocker, but it's cool that it's integrated into the game. I think personally, me, $200 isn't terrible. I feel like that's on par with some of the other mod maker speaker kits, and you get more interaction with this. So I think this is if you're looking for a great addition to your game, I think this is good bang for the buck. What do you think,
Okay.
Scott?
I okay, I do agree. By the way, I did just out of curiosity, I went and looked. Do you remember how much the shooter rod is for Jaws?
I don't. Oh,
Okay, it
150.
150. Okay. Do you know how much it was for Avengers?
Not a clue.
180.
Oh, really?
So
Okay,
they
so
actually so that's interesting that they dropped price on that.
yeah,
And actually I'm looking at their I'm looking at Stern's website as we speak.
I'm
And
looking at
even
flipping out because
okay,
they got all their pricing there. Your Rush shooter rods there, your light up
my
cupcake for
cupcake,
100
yeah, yeah, the Hostess.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, and so the Jaws so that's interesting that there is a little bit of I don't wanna say dynamic pricing, but maybe a special pricing on that, and, um, I will say the shooter rod that does look really boss though is the, Black Knight Sword Rage one.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, that
definitely.
one it looks cool.
It's so metal.
It
It's
looks
just yeah.
really cool, yeah. And so that would be something I would get. So case by case basis. So I thought that was interesting. And the topper for Avengers Infinity Quest was 750. So that's interesting.
Yeah, that
Okay.
is interesting.
Okay. Speaker lights. Yes. Okay. Pinball is visual, and part of the reason why you buy something that's above the pro model is usually scratching that visual or that interactive itch.
Yep.
Because what it does is it combines to the experience. I mean, there's a reason why I will typically buy toppers because they do provide extra little cool bling things. And it's you usually don't see it when you're playing the game, but people who are walking down, they see it and they're like, "Wow, this looks more dressed up than a typical thing." Speaker lights also, I haven't got them for Godzilla, but my question now is, do I get the interactive lights that, that will come back to Godzilla, or do I get the burning lights, right?
Yeah.
Have
Mhm.
you considered either one for your Godzilla?
I haven't. Honestly, I put
Okay.
in the speaker kit, the
Okay.
upgrade, and ever since I did that, I didn't know if I could or not, so I just really haven't pursued it.
Okay. But
So,
because you wanted better sound on Godzilla,
oh
right?
yeah, I got the pin woofer.
Yeah.
Amazing. If you're looking for a
Yeah.
kit, it's the way to go.
And
Seriously.
I'm totally considering that for Godzilla, because that's kind of a forever game.
Yep.
It's going to be it already is, but it will be the next Medieval Madness, except there won't be 3,000 of them. There'll be 15,000 of them around.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
No, I
and
agree.
they'll be making this one for a long time. Okay, so Jaws, I like it because um, again, it's a visual cue, the interaction, and
Yeah.
that's what we noticed when we were looking at John Wick. Between the Pro, the Premium, and the LE, the LE had the expression lights, and it had the speaker lights, and it did make a difference. Like, you could feel more connection with the game. This is getting back to the success of Guns N' Roses from Jersey Jack, where it is a show, it's an experience, and this brings that all to a Stern game.
Yep. I agree. All right, the moment everyone's been waiting for. Oh, we did
Okay.
talk about the price is $200 on the speaker.
Yeah, and that's not okay. Really, I'm putting any sort of accessory under $250. It's certainly not a need to have,
Yeah.
but they're fun. And if
Yeah.
if you're buying a machine that's $7,000 to $9,000, really, economies of scale, that's not that much.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk topper.
Okay.
You want to go first? You want me to?
Okay.
That didn't sound like a like a
It's
who's
so
pulling the short
frustrating.
straw?
Okay, it's so frustrating because we did talk with George Gomez about Topper,
Yes.
okay?
Uh-huh.
And this'll get to the end when I actually did bring up when he talked about toppers and prices, and I said, "Okay, however, you did make a really boss topper for $450 with Black Knight Sword of Rage.
Yeah.
You're selling the same topper for $1,500.
Yeah.
Like, that is okay, it doesn't cost that much. Like, it didn't triple in price, okay?
No.
So you can't see it, but I'm looking over my computer, and that's where my CGC wall is. So
Yes.
I'm
I've been
looking
in
at
your basement, so I know what you're looking
yeah,
at.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know exactly where I am. Okay. So I'm looking at so go with me on this, Josh. I'm
Okay.
looking at the Attack from Mars topper.
Yes.
Okay. That's awesome.
Oh,
I
yes.
would say arguably that's the best looking topper ever.
Yeah, I would not disagree with you there.
And you have the interactive alien. It is really good looking. Okay. You have the Medieval Madness, which doesn't move, but it has lights,
It's
and the
good. Yeah.
sculpt is really cool.
Yep.
Okay. So you have Monster Bash, which again is similar to the Medieval Madness topper.
Yeah.
It is 3D.
It's beautiful, but
It's
it's stagnant. Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, it doesn't move. Okay.
It does have lights on it.
Yeah. Then you have then you also have the Cactus Canyon topper, which is definitely a rival to Attack from Mars for how cool it is.
Yeah,
You
I
could
agree.
even argue I personally like the Attack from Mars better. But and then
The
next to it
level
is
of the
yeah.
level of interactivity though to the Cactus Canyon is just
Oh
chef's
yeah,
kiss.
no, it's a game in itself, absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why people will shy away from the SE, which is kind of funny because it really is the same game.
Yeah.
But they want the topper, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, the topper for Medieval Madness when I upgraded, so I bought a standard edition Medieval Madness, 10 years ago or whatever. So when I upgraded to their, the fake Royal edition, so I got the speaker light, I got all kind
Yeah.
of
Yep.
so that total package cost me $1,500.
And
It
you
was like
got more than just a topper. You got
yeah, and then
a whole
the
lighting
topper
kit.
okay, I
You
may get wrong on this, but the topper I remember being around $600.
Yeah.
So
Sounds
who
about right.
knows? Maybe with inflation, it could be $800. Okay. But now I'm looking around at the other toppers that I have in my basement, which visually look really good. Okay. So I have Beetles, which
Yeah.
is one
Flat
of the
plastics, isn't it?
it's flat plastics and they're on like little springy things. So when you shake the games, the heads like bounce up and down. Okay.
Beatles
Yeah.
bobbleheads.
Beetles bobblehead dolls.
This is
Yeah.
Cousin Brucey talking
Right,
about.
exactly, yeah. Yeah, well, okay, it's like the bobblehead on Deadpool, right?
Yeah.
The Deadpool okay. So you have Wizard of Oz, which came with the game, okay? So it's right there. It is just a sheet of plastic, and it has a light, okay?
Yeah.
Now you have the Rush Topper, which is 3D interactive. However, I will point out it's 3D-ish
Yeah.
because you have the cutout gears that interact and move, which is a cool look. It also feels a little bit like an upgrade from a 2D one, but it doesn't it still feels a little bit plainer,
Yeah.
okay? Still haven't bought the Iron Maiden one, partly because I'm
You're
wondering
holding
about
out.
I'm trying to justify the price on that.
Yeah, I get you.
Godzilla, George Gomez even said that they took a lot of crap for Godzilla
Yeah.
because and okay, let's examine the Godzilla topper. It looks cool. It is interactive. There are lights. You can see behind me. You can see Godzilla blowing that plume of smoke and blowing up the tanks.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a lot of lighting interaction.
Yep.
If you look at it for the parts, though, it's the same Godzilla action figure actually in the game.
Yeah.
Like literally the same one. And the cloud thing is that's
It looks cool when it's on.
it looks cool,
It
but
looks it does
yeah,
not look great when it's off.
no. Okay, so the cloud thing is 3D injected and molded, but
Yeah.
the tanks they're 2D.
Yeah.
And you look at the Jurassic Park topper and it's cut out 2D planar stuff, okay? Okay. So that's my long-winded analysis to say there's a
And this has
big
been Topper Talk with Scott
yeah.
for the last 5 minutes.
Okay, but go with me on this though.
'Kay.
Everybody can look at the CGC toppers and say there was effort there.
Yeah.
Like they put forth their best foot.
Yeah.
Like they made sure the toppers looked great.
Doug Duba is arguably very OCD when it comes to his product.
Okay, and it does show in their product, right? It takes
Yes,
them a long time, but when they
it
come
does.
out, they typically are very well made.
Yes, the quality is impeccable.
Quality's great. Okay, except for the Pulp Fiction that the head was falling off when we played it at Logan Arcade. But um, okay, so the long way I'm telling you this is that I see two equivalent products here, and the price is roughly similar, but it feels obvious that the construction, the thought process going into visually creating a topper is different for CGC than it has been for Stern. Stern feels very much like a Walmart end cap that is over some DVDs that are selling.
Yeah, it kinda does.
Right?
Now that you're
And
saying
now
that,
now that I say it, you can't unsee it,
son of a
right?
gun.
You can't unsee it. And so tell me, like, now they have tried to disguise it a little bit by putting fancy lights in it,
Yeah.
by making it
That's the
interactive.
solution for every Scott. For everything in
Okay.
pinball, throw
Yeah.
lights at it.
Throw lights at it. Yeah. And so it does help. The lights do help. It feels a little bit like they're disguising the lack of materials that go into it, though.
So is this leading up to you gonna tell us how you're gonna how you feel
Okay.
about this jaw stopper
So
now?
the Amity one. Okay. To be, when I saw it, do you know what I thought? I
It
thought it
was
was an LCD screen.
And that's what I thought too. I was
Like,
like,
I
"Oh,
thought it was an
cool."
LCD screen.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, actually, so they're throwing movie clips up there, and that's kinda cool." And that's and
Yeah.
yeah, you already have the interactive screen in front of you, but having an LCD screen up there, which, by the way, does not cost a lot of money.
No.
Like, putting that LCD screen makes it feel more expensive.
Yeah.
Then, when I found out, it was like, "Oh, it's a lenticular topper." So it's like one of those 3D sticker things that you get where you look at one way and it looks this way, and you look at the other way and you
For the
see.
person listening, I was gonna say lenticular is
Okay,
like art. If you have a like, if you look it from you angle it from the right, it's one way, and then if you angle it from the left, it's a different way.
right.
It's you made them in grade school, like where you'd make a fan
Yeah,
and then
and
you
folded it. Yeah,
you folded it and then you yeah. Anywho,
yes.
so
So if
that's
you look at it
lenticular.
from the right side, it looks like a young man, but you look at it from the left side and it looks like an old, something like
Yeah.
that, okay?
Yeah. Stuff like that.
So it's kind of an optical it's basically an optical illusion,
Yeah.
right? Depending on how
Yep.
you're looking. And so on one side, it has the welcome to Amity. On the other side, it's actually, and by the way, I had totally forgotten about this. I was asking in our group chat with the Triple Drain guys this morning, but like, is that like I totally thought that the shark. You know how people take screen grabs and then use like Microsoft Paint or whatever, and they
Yeah.
like draw something on there. I totally
Thought it was
thought
a meme. Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was a meme that someone had done, and they said, "No, actually, that's in the movie." And so I actually
I thought you were pulling my leg. I was like, Scott, really? You don't
yeah,
remember?
yeah, I totally did not because I haven't seen Jaws in the last time I saw Jaws was 7 years ago or so. Like,
Okay.
it was re-released in the theater, and so I
Yeah.
paid and I saw it in the theater. But I totally had spaced that part because it does look like one of those
Well,
homemade meme themes.
and another thing too, you don't own Jaws, right?
No, I don't.
Okay, okay. So you get a pass there as well because keep going because that plays into what I'm going to say. So
Okay, yeah, because I have yet to buy Jaws. That's the only Elwyn aside from the Bond Elwyn I don't buy. So it seemed to fall in the same trap as before. It's cut out plastic with lights with an interesting optical effect that kind of disguises that there's not much there. And for $1,000 now, 250 and below, you know what? That's do whatever you want. I actually, I just barely picked down. Like I have mods that I haven't installed in my games yet. So the one that I picked up, and I know I'm going way over time on this. I need to give Josh equal time. I just brought down the Stumbler mod for Godzilla. That is the sign, which is really cool looking.
it's amazing. Yeah.
It's cool looking. That was 250 or whatever it was. Okay. Would you have bought that thing for $1,000, Josh?
You know me and mods, probably not.
Probably
But
okay,
but
okay.
it I feel like it's justified more with that.
It's the same thing. It's a
Yeah.
2D thing that makes it look really good with a light show, and you buy it for 250, and it's actually 3D because he does 3D make this stuff. So it takes a 2D thing, converts it to a 3D sign that has all these sides, and it also has an interactive light show. So it was upgraded on all levels and still less than, 250 bucks.
Yeah.
Okay, you have a topper that has a plastic sheet that was cut out, and so it's not 3D, it's 2D, but it's disguised as 3D because it has some lights on there. Now,
Yeah.
visually from far away, you can get away with it. You can. But when you start looking at a critical eye, you really do feel like they're phoning in their toppers.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm out. I've said my piece. Go ahead.
Okay. So I first saw this topper and I agree with you. The first thing I thought was, oh, this is an LCD screen because
Mhm.
that would be really cool. Um, and then as it went on, I was like, oh, this is lenticular. And
It's
it
whitewater.
granted, there is some LEDs in the sign and the sign, it sounds like it's tied into kind of like the expression light. So it does
Sure.
do sonar and stuff like that. Okay. Okay. Whatever. I just, it's the same thing as Ninja Turtles. So I know you don't own Jaws, but right below the topper is the exact same on the premium. Sorry, let me put that caveat.
Okay,
Not
all
on
right.
the pro, not
Okay.
on the LE, but on the premium, right below this topper is the exact same sign in the artwork
Oh, I
to the
totally
right.
forgot about that.
And then if you go down past the LCD screen, back in the very back, the sign's there as well. And okay, so it's theme integrated. I'll give it that. I will give it 100% that. But it becomes this like, how many times can I see the sign? And
Jaws, 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 Jaws.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's definitely integrated into the game as well because you see the sign where like if your ball drains, then all of a sudden like the mayor's fighting with Hooper about like the sign needing to be, and so you see the sign again. Like I know it's a very pivotal moment in the
Yeah.
movie, but my only thing is this is the only thing I could think of is
Mhm.
like the reason they probably did this is because it had already been like this artwork had already been pre-approved a couple of times, obviously, in the game. So
Okay.
it probably wasn't that hard to be like, we're going to put this on top of the game as well. And the licensors like, go for it. You know what I'm saying? And that's probably honestly why it got revealed within 6 months
Yeah,
of the
okay.
game.
We're definitely peeking behind the screen and
Yeah.
saying, "Okay, like, we have no inside information on that."
The thoughts
But it
of
rings true,
Loser Kid
doesn't it?
Pinball podcast or that of
Yeah.
the
Not
podcast
not
host and not
yeah,
necessarily of Stern Pinball. You got the idea.
not expressed by the express written consent of certain pinball, yeah.
Okay, so I'll give you this. Okay, I'm not a topper fan. I just like they're cool. Don't get me wrong. I love the toppers on all my CGCs. Maybe that's what ruined me because it came with the game. I didn't have to pay extra, and they looked freaking amazing. Like
Yeah,
they do. And so when you're telling me something that doesn't come with my game that's going to cost me, this one's $1,000, or look at the Foo Fighters one just got revealed.
yeah,
That one's $2,000. I just that's when I'm like, you're $1,000 to $2,000 towards another game at this point.
yeah.
I just I just don't want it. And then when you have this come out, it's just not, it feels uninspired, maybe. I don't know. Like I said, I will give it credit for it is definitely on theme and it integrates in the game.
Mhm.
I just like you said, I feel like it phones it in a little bit. So no shot at anyone it's turn. It's not my
Okay,
cup of tea.
okay, but this is okay, we have to look at this, right?
Yeah.
And we have talked about how I used to be an LE pinball buyer
Yeah.
all day long. Okay. Guess what? I am now a premium pinball buyer.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make the mistake to project my buying habits and my demographics on the entire pinball spectrum because a lot of fans do that.
Yep.
A lot of fans say, I'm a 49-year-old white dude into dad rock. Like, why are you doing anything that's not in my demographic? I'm like, actually, because you can't just cater to one demographic. Uh, However, I'm also really on the fence on toppers now. Like, you have to really
Wow.
impress me to justify the price because once you're in that $1,000 range, you're right. You're pushing over 10% of a game,
Yeah.
and it doesn't bring 10% of fun. It doesn't.
So I have a couple of thoughts on this as well.
Okay.
So I heard a word today. I was listening to another podcast that isn't about pinball, shocker.
Okay.
And they used a word and I texted it to you and you're probably like, why the heck did you just text me that?
Yeah, I was wondering, yeah.
I didn't want to forget it. Habituation.
Okay.
I did not just swear. But if you look at the definition, it pretty much just says that we're so used to
Mhm.
whatever it may be, that by time something else comes out in that same genre or whatever, you're so desensitized, you don't think it's exciting anymore or it's not new anymore.
Okay.
And so I use this word because I feel like we have habituation in a community. If you've
Mhm.
been in this hobby for a while now, you definitely have this, and you're comparing topper to topper. Really, let's take it away, and you look at just this topper. I know it's hard for us to do because
Okay.
we've been talking
We've
CGC a
seen a
lot.
lot of toppers, yeah.
If you saw this was the very first topper you've ever seen in your whole life, how cool would it actually be? And we're going to take price off the table at this point.
Okay.
Would you be excited to see this? Like, if you saw this topper, would you be like, "Whoa, this is like the coolest"? And it's hard because, like I said, I've been in this hobby for over a decade now, and you've been in it, Scott, for at
Yeah.
least 7 years, something like that. 6 years.
Mm, I'm over a decade.
You're over a decade as well.
I'm
Okay,
over a decade, yeah.
So it's, I guess, my statement I'm going to make right now is we need, as a community, like, I get like being critical of this stuff,
Mhm.
but honestly,
Are
the
we
biggest
complacent? Is that what you're getting at? Like, we're so used to it that it no
it
longer
no
makes
longer
us
wows
excited?
us. Yeah.
Yeah,
And if you want to vote, then do it with your wallet. Like, that's the best way to do it.
sure.
Personally, me, I feel like like we've just discussed about this. I don't think Stern actually makes these in house, and really their biggest moneymaker are the games. And so this is more of like a love letter to the community. Like, you want to pimp out your game, we're making this stuff for you. But it's like no love loss if they don't make a ton of these, because really they're just shipping it out to someone else to make them, right?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
anywho, that's my point. I think that we've, if it comes down to it, in my opinion, it's not worth it. It's not going on my game. If it's as a mutual friend of ours says, don't yuck someone else's yum. If this is your yum, cool. If
Yeah,
not,
yeah, and the only thing we can talk about is it worth it to us as a
yeah,
personal buying thing. Now, I also there are things that I have paid money for that would be considered extravagant, or I bought a Rush LE like sticker price. I didn't get any discount on that. I got sticker price. I paid sticker price for everything, and that was within my wheelhouse.
yeah,
But I know that some people, it's like, no, I'm not going to do that. But that's what you need to consider, though, is there are going to be overlaps. There are going to be
yep,
people who will buy things all the time, regardless of price, and there are also going to be people who um, they're very price sensitive, and even a $100 increase in something is going to be a big deal.
yeah.
Hi.
Sorry for the loud thud. I just dropped my phone. Alrighty, I've had enough of Jaws accessories and whatnot, and we have so much more on our
Okay,
notes.
okay, but what would you buy? Let's just say you do own Jaws Premium, and I will get Jaws Premium at some
Yeah,
point. What are the things that you would consider putting in your game?
the buoy of death
Okay,
from
from
Stumbler.
Stumbler, which is awesome.
I
Yeah.
think it's cool. Someone have said though, like the DMD doesn't really match the '70s vibe. Eh, I think it's still
Okay,
cool.
but you could also just turn that DMD off. If, like
Yeah, true.
even
It's all
Davey
subjective,
said
right?
that.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Um, Honestly, I think if I'm gonna get, if anything out of this package I'm gonna grab, I would consider the speaker light system and probably the pinball armor. That was the two things that I would consider. So
okay, I would consider the inner art blades
okay.
and the speaker lights. But like if I had to pick the ones that I would spend my money on,
Yeah.
that's what I would pick my money on.
Okay.
But I'm not going to begrudge someone if they just said, "No, I want everything."
Okay. I'm gonna rapid fire these. You ready?
Okay,
Dutch pinball, Alice in Wonderland. How do you feel about it?
don't care.
Yeah.
And legitimately, this is they're trying to milk the J-pop thing for everything it's worth.
Yeah, but it's weird because it was a foam core. Like this concept probably didn't even.
This was a napkin sketch.
Yeah, it really
This was not
was.
even a fleshed out game. This was sold 100% on Zombie Yeti's art because it
So
looked really cool.
it's just weird to me. It's really, and they're not even using Zombie Eddie. He's not. He's
Well,
not
yeah, he's gonna move
associated
on,
at all.
absolutely. But
So
it shows that art and okay, in the 90s when I was actually into comic books, like early
yeah,
90s,
yep,
and this is the Todd McFarlanes. This is the Rob Liefeld, like the guys who made like Deadpool,
yeah,
the original guys. Jim Lee was a huge artist, and people would buy their their comics based on the art because it was just visually so different than any comic books before.
yeah.
However, eventually people just kind of got tired of it because there wasn't much story there. And I would feel the same way about Alice in Wonderland. You have a foam core idea from J-pop.
Yeah.
J-pop obviously needs a team to make up for his many deficiencies.
100% agree. I do not consider World Cup Soccer
Yeah,
a J-pop game. I know
no,
his name is on it. Like the general concept was him.
yeah,
I really feel like that is a Larry DeMar game.
yeah.
And
It's 100% a team game. Like, there's
yeah,
no way that
yeah.
was J-pop.
So if you haven't listened to our Larry DeMar episode,
It's great.
uh,
Yeah,
it's amazing. and he does talk about how J-pop actually left early because his father was having some issues, health issues, and so they pretty much did the rest of the game. I don't know how much. Yeah,
and I will point out too, you are 100% right. Then there is creep in expectations. Like I don't have a super old game behind me. I mean, the oldest one I have is really Wizard of Oz,
yeah,
which. But if you look behind you, you see, an EM, you see
yeah,
a World Cup soccer, and then you get into your Sterns. So yeah, it's going to look different. I will point out too, the getting back to, is the topper going to wow you? Okay, the whitewater topper is awesome.
yep.
It also, if they put out the whitewater topper today, they would charge $1,000 for it,
Oh, easily, yeah.
and that is not $1,000 topper. Same with the Adams family. It's a cool topper, not $1,000.
All right, Pedretti, they've officially announced Funhouse, and it's been shown. What do you think?
I'll let you go first. You have a lot more connection to Funhouse than I do.
Um, I don't think we've talked about this yet. So personally, I love Funhouse. It's one of the games that got me hooked on pinball.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it might not be one of the first ones I played, but it's definitely one of those ones I was like, holy crap, this is
Mm-hmm.
so cool. When we talk about World Under Glass, this
Mm-hmm.
is like
It's a Toy Story. It looks like a Toy
pulling
Story.
you
Yeah.
under the glass. It's Rudy is making fun of you. You're interacting with Rudy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited. I'm nervous. Um, Pendretti has said that they will be using planetary pinball parts.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that they have higher quality to the part. These are being made in Europe. I don't know if we're allowed to say when they start shipping. I'm not going to do
Um,
that to the
well,
person that
okay.
gets them.
The bottom line is they will be coming out sometime.
Yeah, they'll be coming
Um,
out. They should be shipping this year. I'll just put it like that because
okay.
that gives some leeway. Um, I personally don't like the LE artwork. I find it weird that like the gopher's
It's a little
eyeballs are
bit
all
of a
popping out.
yeah.
Everyone
It's
else's
kind of
eyeballs are popping out.
it's a mismatch of things.
I agree. I don't like the fact that there's like Bride of Pinbots in the art, and
Right.
it's like this is Funhouse. This is like why is this like a love letter from all the Bally Williams stuff?
Mm-hmm.
That's just me. Like if I were to buy this, I'm definitely going classic every day.
Sure.
I've heard very terrible things about the 2.0 code, and people have actually said, "No, we're not buying the LE
Okay.
just because
Okay.
we don't
But
want."
so far, they're. I don't think they're done with the code.
They're not done, but it's been out for at least 3 years now. You remember you and I both played it at
You're
TPF.
talking the Rudy's Nightmare.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This
Okay.
is the exact same code.
Yeah. Well, who knows?
So
Maybe they can tune it up a little bit.
I thought Mark Silt did a good job with the voice, and
Oh
I
yeah.
think he had a very big hurdle to go over. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's not the original, but he was going for something different. And I think he did a
Mm-hmm.
great job with the way he went with it.
He's going for
Oh,
creepy clown.
overall, honestly, I think this was a brilliant move to make this game.
Mm-hmm.
They're selling better than Wick. I know that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just an all around. I don't know. Like I said, personally, me, I'm
Mm-hmm.
debating if I want to. Like, this is a game I'm seriously consider buying, but like I recommend to everyone, go out, play it, feel the
Play it first.
quality,
Yeah, play it 1st. Mm-hmm.
especially like at Expo. I'm going to be asking questions. I'm going to ask them to lift the hood. I want I don't want my love for Funhouse to outweigh becoming a box of problems. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Oh,
So
100%. Are you okay? Do you get pause at all from a European manufacturer versus someone in the States?
yes and no. Yes, because it is in Europe, and if I have issues, it's a different country. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know how Australia and Canada feels, I guess. Well, at least Canada is like right there.
Canada. Yeah.
But the other thing too is the point of contact is the pinball company in America, and
Right.
I know that they're going to make things right.
Okay.
Also, the parts are readily available in America because of Planetary Pinball. So, yes, I am a little concerned because it's in Europe, but no, there's already plenty of the stuff in America that and I think if there is an issue, I can reach out to the points of contact, like flipping out, and they'll take care of it. And it won't be like 6 to 8 weeks to get my part.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll be able to get it here. So,
You like that there's some teamwork approach, is what you're saying.
yes,
Okay.
yes,
So it's a little different than maybe like a highway pinball,
yep.
or, we all know there's, Haggis is alone down in Arizona, not Arizona, in
Arizona.
Australia. Yeah, Arizona is in the United States, kids.
The far off
Okay,
mitt.
so yeah, that's. I'm a little it does give me a little bit of pause, just because I've never owned a Pindready game. However, you are correct in that it is a great theme that does have longevity. I, I'm not a huge Pat Lawler fan, so the games don't connect with me as they would with a lot of people. Uh, but I can definitely see the marketability of it. And there are people who really do connect with that theme, and it is a great home theme. Like if you're putting a game in your home, there's going to be no questions about that unless you have like creepy doll vibes.
Yep, I agree. Alrighty, next on the list, Harry Potter's Jump in the Line.
Okay.
Eric, Minier on design? Question mark. So
Yeah. Okay. Do you think they would, aside from maybe Steve Ritchie, you can't imagine them going with anyone? Eric has designed their biggest selling game. Yes, it was
correct.
Guns N' Roses,
Yep.
and there certainly were some built-in advantages with that.
I just
Having
find it interesting that Mark Seiden's been there for a while
Yep.
now, and
Mhm.
granted, like, he's working on his game, and, like, if they're taking more time to champion him and get him up and going,
Right.
awesome. Um, sorry, you were leading this. I apologize for cutting you off, but no, I think really Eric's the go-to guy, right? Like,
Right.
there's no one else
I
designing
would be
this.
surprised if it weren't Eric. I guess I'll put it
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah, I agree. I would be very surprised if it was
Right.
Mark Seiden.
The question I have, and this is okay, I'm gonna go back to the topper thing. If you're gonna buy a topper, would you buy a topper from Stern or would you buy it from CGC? Okay. You're
Yeah.
gonna buy the CGC one.
Yep.
Okay. If you're and you could argue that if you are going to buy a game, you do have to factor in, okay, Elton John's a fun game. I don't know of anybody who's played it that says, yeah, I don't like this thing.
Yeah.
If it came out at a price point that was equivalent to Stern, do you think that would have been a big seller?
Possibly. I
I
think
think it
so.
would have been. I think
Yeah.
it would have been. I can tell you for a fact, for me, I would buy it.
Yep.
If a premium were in the 9,000 range, I'd buy it
Yep.
and put it in my basement because I I'm old enough that I remember when those songs came out.
Yep.
And that is something that is fun. It's a great shooting game. It's a proven layout. So their problem has always been price. It's
Yeah.
it. I'm sorry, it's just too much. And I'm hoping that I'm wrong. I'm hoping that people say, "Well, you don't know the numbers, and it's selling gangbusters, and there's going to be tons of them." Maybe, but there's a big difference between selling a billion Guns N' Roses at 9,500 versus 10,500, depending on when you put in your order,
Yeah.
versus their last two releases or three releases, which are Toy Story, Godfather, and Elton John. I guarantee the volume they sold of the last three are significantly lower
Yeah.
than what the others. Now, is
Maybe,
it
but maybe the price increase makes up for the lower sales units. Plus,
maybe, maybe, maybe?
you don't have as many people hired on
Yep.
if you're
Yeah.
making less units. So you're actually saving some money that way.
Sure.
There's some economics to it. So
Yeah, there are definitely things to consider, and maybe it makes more sense for them because if you look at a like an economics curve, at some point you're going to make the same amount of money at a higher price versus a lower price versus high volume versus higher price and low volume. There is a kind of a break even point
yeah.
where you're actually making the same for making less units, and they would know that. I wouldn't. I doubt that they were considering lowering the price because we all know they have Harry Potter, and they are going to want a premium price for Harry Potter.
Yep.
So that's they seem to be riding out the higher price option. So, um, does it make sense that they would move up Harry Potter?
Yes.
Okay.
I think
Um,
the reason being, especially where you've had Godfather, Toy
mhm.
Story, and Elton John, and it's no secret there are still distributors holding on. Well,
New in boxes. They're
new in
still
box, like,
holding.
what
Yeah.
was it? Was it JJ from Game Exchange that posted on Facebook like 6 months ago? I've got Toy Story still in stock. Make me
Mhm.
an offer.
Mhm.
And I think this was brought up because it's like there's supposed to be like there's an honorary number, right?
Right.
But when the product's not selling and distributors are sitting on, it's not just the money that they fronted up front; they're holding on to stock, and
Yep.
that's area that could be taken by another game.
Yeah.
But you're
In
not supposed to go to
business.
that number because you could lose business
Right.
from that. Like JJP could be like, you know what? If you can't honor the
Right.
deal that we've made, you can no longer be a distributor. It it just seems very much like I don't give a crap if you don't give a crap. I need to move these. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there in how many times have you seen, "Hey, we found these open boxes. We had
Yeah.
5 new in boxes a week ago, but now we have 5 open box
Mhm.
deals."
Yeah. Exactly.
Which is a which by the way is just a way they can skirt the bottom line.
Yeah.
They basically opened it to ensure it was intact, but they never actually unboxed it.
Yeah.
Um, okay, moving I'm sorry, this is a very I feel very long-winded tonight.
Okay.
So moving up, Harry, maybe, and that would tell me that Elton is, winding up if that's the case.
Yeah.
Now the next rumored thing that was supposed to be coming out with JJP would be possibly like, Matrix, right?
Yeah.
That's been the long-standing rumor
And if that's the case, maybe they're trying to distance themselves from
from
Stern
John Wick.
releasing John Wick. And I
Yeah.
hadn't thought about that now that you
Yeah,
say
no,
that.
that was totally my thought, is that
Okay.
do they wanna have 2 Keanu's come out? Now, you also have to assume that Harry's done,
Yeah.
and I don't know if Harry's done. Uh,
I can't remember. It was like Mother Day last year that they announced that they
yeah,
had it, right?
so I
Well, sorry that Joe Camecow
yeah,
spilled
yeah,
the beans.
yeah. Joe said maybe, yeah, who knows?
Who
Um,
knows?
yeah, exactly.
Okay. So I want to point out one really quick thing, then we're moving on.
Okay,
For those, because I keep being asked this because
okay,
people think I know stuff.
okay.
So I'm just gonna say this publicly. If you do the math, people,
Mhm.
JJP has been very spot on for every 9 months right now,
Yeah,
going back their last 3 releases. So if you do 9 months, because Elton John was released in October of 2023,
mhm.
if you do 9 months, that means the next JJP game should be shown next month.
Soon, yeah.
Yeah. Uh, and I would lay money on it. I
Okay.
think um, I have not been personally told that it's being released that month. I've
It
got
would
hints.
make sense, though. It would make
Yes.
sense for JJP to release things a lot faster and get, basically doing these exclusive games that are
Yep.
higher priced, that there is kind of a built-in exclusivity if you only make them for 9 months and then move on.
Yep. So
Mhm.
I think we see this in the next 9 months. Worst case scenario. Okay, I can't guarantee it's Harry Potter, but the next JJP I want to say is next month's release.
Mhm.
Worst case scenario, we see
September.
it at
Yeah,
Expo.
yeah.
Yeah.
I it's definitely I would probably say August. I really would. But that would make sense. Now
So
there's probably gonna be other things that you're gonna be dealing with too, like Stern's rumored, like, Black and White Godzilla coming out could
or
also take
Stern's
something,
rumored
or
Metallica.
Stern's rumored Metallica. Yeah, there's a lot of rumors out there, or, Jack Danger's next game, and some so you're always gonna be competing with different releases.
Yep. Okay. Let's move on to
Okay.
and the other question too is I keep getting a lot. Do you know which game's coming next from Stern? If I were to see where the smoke from the fire is coming with all the rumors and stuff like that, I bet you July it's Metallica.
Mhm.
Um, I bet
Actually,
Boars actually. I know
I
that
I I
Gomez.
I don't think so. I don't think July is Metallica.
Well,
'Kay,
okay,
this is your thoughts. Go ahead, go ahead.
okay. This is Josh's thoughts. July's Metallica. October is actually uh an X Men '97, which is a Borg, which is a remake of X Men. And then I think in December, January, we see Jack Danger with Pokemon. This is all speculation.
Okay.
And I also want to put the caveat too that I do know that people uh, Gomez did say on Joel's interview with him,
Mhm.
Joel from the Triple Drain and Flipping Out
Mhm.
and all that stuff, that Jack Danger is next in the pipeline.
Right.
But uh, yeah, so that's my thought.
Okay.
Would you want? Did you want her to throw that out before I move on to the next?
Well, I would just say I think there. I would say odds are very good that they're going to do a black and white Godzilla. There's
Yeah.
odds are that would come out, and kind of like a Lucy or a Catwoman edition or something like that. Um, I have a feeling though that Borg's game coming out would be Metallica.
Okay.
So I think that's their Vault edition that's coming out, because there are some things that they could possibly be doing with the new like with the Spike 3 system, right?
Yep.
And there's a question that you could ask. There are systems that have been, backwards compatible. Like if you buy a video game, right? So sometimes when they have some backwards compatibility, if they were using Metallica as a test case to see if they can just run older code without having to update everything. So that seems to be the tea leaves for me
Okay.
on that. Is it possible that that the X-Men 97 project may come up? Maybe. I don't feel the appetite for X-Men to get re-released, because it wasn't really a big seller back in the day. And Rush is basically a better layout than X-Men, and it's still very similar.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the only reason I'm like, maybe not. But another reason I'm saying X-Men 97, if we've brought this up before, if you do the math, it seems like once a year Stern is doing something from Disney, some
Okay.
kind of, that could be
Mhm.
Marvel or whatever it may be, whether it's a rerun, whether it's you know what I'm saying. And so
Mhm.
it's been a minute since we've had a Disney licensed property revealed from Stern.
Okay.
I'm trying to think when the last time we even saw one was Venom. Sorry. So Venom in October, I guess it hasn't been that long then.
Yeah.
Uh I guess why did I forget Venom? Why did that leave my conscience? I don't know.
Well, we
Consciousness.
know because Venom's typically a more location game.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
location game.
So
Yeah.
okay. Maybe not then. Well, yeah, well, I don't know. We'll see. Okay.
Yeah.
My next my next quick one. American Pinball. David Fix was on Pinball News. He pretty much confirmed Cuphead is next
Mhm.
and will be out by Expo, so long as it's fully baked. They are not going to rush it, but it
Okay.
sounds like they're on a time crunch. Um, and after that, I I'm sorry, I didn't listen to the full episode. Supposedly He-Man
Okay.
and Masters of the Universe got brought up as well as the game after that. I don't know, and I want to say they said Franchi's on the art for that.
Okay.
So thoughts?
Um, Cuphead's a bad thing. It's
I
it
I
it
like it. I'm
okay.
excited to see a Cuphead.
It's a
They'll sell
ve
more than
it
barbecue.
it is a v okay, yeah, barbecue, I mean, yeah. Cuphead, I'm sorry, barbecue is it's a puzzling theme, I guess I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Um, the Cuphead is just so focused. It would be like, okay, I know that Rick and Morty seem a little, like, subgenre.
Yeah.
Cuphead is definitely subgenre.
It's very niche in a very
It's
niche hobby.
really you are targeting a very narrow demographic. I mean, it would
Yeah.
be like me thinking, like, I think Venture Brothers are hilarious because it's just making fun of Johnny Quest the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Um,
100%.
but I would be shocked if they said there's a Venture Brothers pinball machine coming out.
Yeah.
And so you're really, if you're trying to go for themes, you want to go for the broadest appeal. So would you take Cuphead or GI Joe?
Me personally, probably Cuphead.
Okay, okay, all right. Well,
You
I'll
gotta
I'll
understand though. I've played the video game. I love the video game.
sure.
My family has all watched Cuphead on Netflix, all
Okay,
three
okay.
seasons.
And
W-
again, this is me getting out of my demographic, right?
Yeah.
I'm solidly in the 45 to 65 demographic. Like I have no connection to Cuphead at all. You said Cuphead was a rumor, and I had to ask who was that.
Seriously, watch Netflix,
Okay.
the Netflix series. It's really
Okay.
good it's really good.
He-Man. He-Man's a great theme.
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
yeah.
it is a great theme. Like, of all the 80s cartoons, He-Man's probably the best one, really. So I would choose He-Man. I would move He-Man up because okay, I'm just looking at an amateur revenue stream. I don't see too many American pinballs getting sold.
Yeah.
So if you're going to go big, I would go with He-Man.
I agree.
But if Cuphead's you're doing these small runs and you can just throw out 300 of them and call it good, sure, why not? But
Yeah.
He-Man would be where you'd want to go.
Alrighty. So I was listening to Eclectic Gamers
Okay.
podcast. They just released an episode on Saturday. If you haven't checked it out,
Okay.
it's pretty much a fan episode. It's a bunch of emails because the news has been slow.
Yeah, it's been
Uh,
slow.
so there was a gentleman, I want to say by the name of Steven, that had wrote
Okay.
in asking some questions to EGP. And I actually wanted to answer two of these because I felt like the first one we do a lot, and then the second one we do interviews, and so I felt like it was
Sure.
may not directly pointed at us, but
But we have more guests than your
yeah.
average podcast, your average pinball podcast.
So, and then we could give a little more insight from a
Okay.
personal standpoint. So the
Sure.
first question we're going to go with, why do podcasters talk about other podcasters
Okay.
or podcasts? Do you want to go first on this one, Scott?
Sure.
Actually,
Okay. The nice thing about podcasters is there is definitely some cross-pollination. We are friends with many of the podcasters, and we listen to many other podcasters because they have different styles. Like, we have our own style. This is, and we've talked about this before. How do we want to run a show? And the bottom line is, you and I talk regularly on the phone.
yeah.
And this is basically a phone conversation.
Yeah.
So it's easy for us to translate that into a podcast because you as the listener are the silent third person in our conversation.
Yeah.
And we try to take it very casual. Like, you're invited to come, you can contribute, you can agree, you can disagree with us, but that has been our approach. Other shows are definitely different. They have different approaches. And so one of the reasons why we do talk about others, in some ways, it would be to, hey, they may have a different take. Like, if you want competitive pinball, then you probably want to listen to a podcast that talks about tournament pinball.
Yeah.
And Triple Drain has tournament pinball players in there. Final Round has tournament pinball players in there. These are things.
Slam Tilt.
Slam Tilt, absolutely. All of those guys are better pinball players than me. I am the collector at home who dabbles around in playing. So one of the reasons why is because we are also fans of different shows because they offer something that we don't.
Yeah.
But it's also good to get different perspectives too. If you keep going down the same rabbit holes, then you do start getting a little tone deaf and siloed into your own point of view on pinball. And this actually brought up, this was reflected back on me one time. I was in a chat one time when I was basically railing on topper prices. And I said, they would make a lot more money by selling more toppers at a cheaper price. And this is Josh Sharp, who's an accountant, and he fired back. He's like, the only thing you don't have behind your assumption are any numbers.
Yeah.
And that did hit me to say, you know what, you're right. I'm not an accountant, and I don't have a business major.
Yeah.
And they are crunching the numbers. And it may not be valuable a price for me, but it could be for a lot of people. And so that keeps me in check. That's one of the reasons why. Also, another reason why, because it's fun. Like, these are our friends. And I don't really feel much competition about other people's numbers because I'm doing this for fun. We're not making any money on this.
Yep. The reason I shout out other podcasts is because a lot of times I'm listening to them. They bring up stuff that I appreciate and make me see from a different perspective, or get my brain turning and going, oh, hey, I hadn't thought of that. And so um I also recommend people, because if you're listening to us and you enjoy us, we're usually an hour to an hour and a half every 2 weeks. You're usually looking for something else to listen to as
Mhm.
well. That's why I recommend Triple Drain. That's why I recommend Eclectic Gamers or the Pinball Show, or
Mhm.
uh, we're all kind of the similar vein. Like obviously, like
Mhm.
Slam
If
Tilt's
you
a
want
little
history, go to
outside.
Silverball Chronicles. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And I enjoy Slam Tilt. I think that's the thing, is like these
Yeah.
are people that I know and I respect,
Mhm.
not only on a friendship level, but from a podcasting level. Like I know that the
Mhm.
quality of content you're gonna get from them
Right.
is good. I don't really. So one thing they had mentioned is they said that, well, podcasters mention other podcasters because it brings credibility to their own podcast. I don't fully get that. Like, I'm not saying like I don't mention Triple Drain every episode because I feel like I'm riding on their coattails and it gives me
Mhm.
credibility to Loser Kid. No, I literally do this because I like those guys.
Mhm.
We talk
We
to
even
them
have
outside.
newcomers like Don. I mean,
Yeah,
Don's new to
yeah,
and Don he is podcasting a lot.
yeah. A lot. I don't
And
know how he does it, man.
yeah,
He
and
does
he
it
has
though.
a different style too. He's like a solo stream of consciousness talker,
Yeah.
which is different. Ron and Bruce are hilarious at Slam Tilt. They're definitely a little more
Yeah.
irreverent, and so I laugh when I hit them, and I also appreciate Buffalo Pinball. They
Yeah.
definitely have a very professional show. They have more of a group mix show, and there are a lot of their takes that I agree with. There are a lot of them that I don't
Yeah.
too, but it's good to see different perspectives, and it's
Well, even like Vic VP, like I'm
yeah,
glad that Stern had, he reached out and got to do the John Wick stuff.
yeah,
I I really like his stuff. I'm glad that, like, I didn't know
mhm,
who he was before the Stern stuff.
yeah.
And you know what? We've talked behind the scenes. He's a really cool dude.
He's a nice guy, yeah, and
He's
he
definitely
even
is.
addressed us because he was like, "Well, okay, so I
Yeah,
have a Godfather pinball machine." So we were actually weren't criticizing him having the pinball machine behind it. It was just more of that was an interesting take from Stern to choose him because
true,
but
but he did have a valid point of
he
like
did. He's
he
like
wanted to
that. It's
prove
the
that
one
I
I
have
own.
pinball.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the one I own. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and so and another thing too, I think we criticize too much when, like, with Vic, he's like, I've only been in this for like a year and a half, 2 years, if I
right.
remember correctly.
Yeah,
I mean, when I was only in it a year and a half to 2 years, like, my perspective was entirely different than it is today.
yeah,
And I don't disagree with him, like, virtual pinball, like, you might not like it, you might love it. The thing about virtual pinball is I can play thousands of games all in one cab. I
and they
can
still
learn these
work.
rule
Yeah,
sets. Yeah, and so is it authentic? No. Like, it's not.
well,
I
who's
don't
to
want.
say? Like,
Yeah,
okay, I will say there seems to be a progression, right?
yeah, yep,
And this is where people, I think, justifiably bust David Fix a little bit when he
yeah,
says you shouldn't have an opinion unless you've been in pinball for 5 years. I'm like,
yeah,
no, actually, you can have a pinball if you've never played a game
yeah,
because the market is going to be continually growing or shrinking, and you want it to be growing.
yep, it's all subjective.
Hmm.
Okay, second question. Why are the interviews so softballed questions?
Okay, and well, okay, and we have talked a lot behind the scenes on this. Okay, and I will put it out there that how many interview shows are aggressive to the audience person that they have invited on?
Yeah,
And think of it. So any show that invites someone on, the only one I could possibly think of is possibly David Letterman had a little more bite to him
yeah,
when he had people on, but in many ways, the interviewee was in on it. When Dave would go after Richard Simmons, and I know I'm going way back, but Dave would make fun of Richard Simmons nonstop. But
yeah.
Richard Simmons was kind of in on the
The
shtick.
joke.
Okay.
Yeah,
But most of the time, when you when you look at the Tonight Show, you look at Jimmy Kimmel, you look at Stephen Colbert, you look at any sort of show that invites people on, you have to at least have some respect for the guests. And if you bring them on and you're toxic to them, then you're not going to get good quality stuff. And that's the first thing. You want the interviewee to feel comfortable. You want them to feel engaged. Now, are the questions all softball? No, I think there are some that we want to talk about the products and we want to bring out information. But there are things that we will ask that focus on, okay, this is a controversy that has been floated behind the scenes. Do you care to address that?
Yeah.
Do you care to talk about that? And at least give them a forum. Sometimes they want to talk, sometimes they don't. And there are some that we have interviewed some people where we have cut out a few questions because they were uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
But
So,
you
oh,
can't
go ahead.
sustain a show if you are being if you are not inviting a guest to your house and treating them with respect.
Yep, I agree. So I want to pull up one. I don't like to bring up usually like trolling comments,
Okay.
but there was one from, I can't remember if it was our Stern Factory or if it was the Gomez interview. It was the Stern Factory, and I'll say
Mhm.
why. The gentleman had said, "I bet no one had the cojones to ask why the LE prices are so ridiculous in your conference call room." And then used it to explain like that's why we know you guys are softball or whatever. And the funny part is I had responded and I said, actually,
We did.
someone did
Someone
bring
did.
that up,
Yeah.
brought up in the conference. And if you listen to our episode with Gomez, we brought it up there as well.
Mhm.
And they both gave answers, and the dude never responded back.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: some of you people out there that you're listening, do a little bit of research before you think before you speak. Okay.
Mm.
Let me now moving back onto the interview stuff.
Okay.
What I found refreshing with Gomez said to us, you hear it in the Joel interview. He said it to
Mhm.
us before we started. Ask the hard questions.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, I say, I can't talk about that.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. I love when my interviewee is enthusiastic. This is going out to a lot of you. If you're listening, if you're, and we ever invite you on, if you're enthusiastic about your product and you're open about your product, it makes the interview so much funner and easier to listen to, and people will engage more.
Mhm.
And the reason I bring up the Gomez interview is because it exploded. 12,000 listens between all of our platforms together in less than
Yeah.
a week.
Yeah.
It blew. It was crazy. Sorry, that and the John Wick release episode with Davey. I got to put that caveat. I apologize, but there was a lot of listens in like a week. It was
Mhm.
insane. Um, but the reason I bring that up is because we have had interviewees in the past where we have asked questions. We've asked questions that are floating around right now about their companies
Mhm.
that have been asked. They're like, why is no one asking this question? It's because we've asked it, and I get one or two responses. The first response is, I can't talk about that.
Right.
You got to drop it and you got to cut it from the interview.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
You want me to leave that in there? Because all they're going to say is, I can't talk about it.
Mhm.
You drop it and take it out of the interview. What does that benefit you at all?
Mhm.
To bring more speculation? Like, I don't get it. The second thing is, like, we did ask a question that was, I didn't think was too, I thought the company would want to get ahead of what was being said.
Mhm.
The interviewee stood up, said, if these are the kind of questions that are going to be asked, I do not want to be in this interview. And I said, okay, like, we won't ask that question.
Right.
You're welcome to sit down. We will talk about what you want to talk about, because it's a really weird dynamic. I can ask those questions all day. But if I don't have an interview, like, it's a waste of my time. It's a waste
Mhm.
of your time. Like, it doesn't benefit anyone at that point. Yeah, it might sound softballed, but I don't know. It takes time to set these. It's not just like I call up Gomez and say, hey, it's 3 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon. You got time? You want to do this? No, it takes weeks. It takes at least a week of planning. We
Mhm.
line these up. We come up with the questions. A lot of times we will send the questions over pre-hand just to say,
Yeah.
hey, this is what we're going to be covering. If there's anything on here you don't feel comfortable with, please let us know.
Mhm.
A lot of times they don't care. Uh, it just, so there's the insight. That's the making the sausage. So a lot of you people out there are like, why is it so softballed? There are interviews that are very softballed because that's all we're getting out of the cut. That's all we're getting out of the interviewee.
Well, okay, not all questions are really considered softball.
True, and it's subjective, right? Like,
Right.
it's very,
We
very subjective.
we bring up controversy about theme. We bring up controversy about the bottom line is if we want to invite people back onto our show, you have to show some level of respect, and so they felt that they were respected when they were
Yeah.
on the show. And sometimes they don't have good answers for the hard questions, or at least answers they can discuss.
Yeah. There I've heard of people that done the interview and they've essentially tricked the person into answering a question they didn't want to ask,
And then
and then
cut and paste. Yeah.
yeah, or they pushed out the interview even though they've been asked to cut it.
Yep.
That's just not my stick. That's not my
Yeah.
thing, guys. I respect the people in this industry
Mhm.
from smallest company to biggest company. And so that it is what it is. Like, honestly, personally, to the gentleman that asked this question, start up a podcast.
Yeah, try
Start asking people to come do interviews.
invite people
First,
on and then be mean to them. Yeah, good luck with that.
yeah, and see how long you last. And
Yeah.
seriously, I encourage anyone out there that's listening, if you want to do a podcast, it's super simple. We do it through Zencaster. You get 2 weeks
Mhm.
like free or whatever. You do it on your phone and try it out. Like, that's the thing. Like, you, just like Scott said earlier, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I really encourage you. Like, if this is something you want to do, then do
Mhm.
it. I think it's hard. I think,
'Kay,
how do I
there's a
put this
reason
nice?
why people who tend to have a more critical take, it tends to be a solo show. Look at them;
Yeah.
they tend to be solo shows, and they tend to be a little bit of a stream of consciousness or a rant, okay?
Yeah.
Not everybody who falls into that category does that,
What are you saying?
but
Why are you saying this about Don? Why don't you
yeah.
just publicly call out
Don's
Don?
Don's a
Don.
nice guy, okay. No, but there are some who that is kind of their lane,
Yeah.
is they typically take a very critical, view of the industry, and, they take a very cynical view of it,
Yeah.
and to be blunt, that's not my style.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in pinball because I enjoy it. It still is a hobby that I enjoy. I don't view it as nefarious or mean, even though some people, that's just what they want to hear. Because trust me, if you have a total takedown, and okay, I have certainly gone that direction with Deep Root because I felt that they had burned so many bridges, they deserved it.
Yeah. They had it coming.
Yeah.
So
So,
I'm gonna,
but for the most part, we do have very good relationships with the manufacturers and the designers, and that's the reason why we can still get people on the show.
yeah, and that's why they give us tidbits and morsels too that everyone rants and raves about for the next 6 months as well. And so I think, okay, personally, me, there's too much complaining in this hobby. Like, either pick up a shovel and start like helping, like start work,
Mhm.
or I don't know. It just, I, my thought process is like, there's a lot of squeaky wheels out there,
Mhm.
and I know like the oil gets the squeaky wheel, right? My recommendation is start coming up with solutions. If you don't feel like something's being done right, recommend something. Say, hey, like, I noticed that you're doing this. Have you thought about doing it this way?
Mhm.
Just that's my thought process. I guess that's just who I am. And the other thing too is like, a lot of this doesn't get to me, and the reason being is, I know I've talked about this before, but I was in a touring band for a few years. But my hometown that we played out of, when we played shows, it wasn't like I could play all shows with pop punk. We were pop punk. We were very much in the vein of like All Time Low, Green Day, Sum 41.
Mhm.
That was our jam. That's what I enjoyed. Slightly leaning towards emo. Um, so when we played shows, there was like deathcore metal that we'd had. There was
Mhm.
rappers in our town. We played the show with what we had because people aren't paying like tickets just to come see us.
Mhm.
And it also builds community, yada yada yada. But the thing is I didn't get offended when a kid came up after we did the show and was like, "You guys should sound more death metal." And I'm like, "Well, why? Like, what makes you think that I should sound more death metal?" He's like, "Well, because I love death metal."
Mhm.
Okay, you do, but I don't want to play that. I want to
Well,
play the music I don't want to play.
it's
So
like the feedback that we should swear more on our podcast. I'm like, that's
yeah,
not it's not really our style. And there are tons of podcasts. Go ahead and listen to them.
yeah.
That's It's just
So
not our
my
style.
so my point being is if you're going to criticize someone for what they're doing or who they are or whatever, may
Mhm.
stand back and consider like that's their lane and that's the thing that they've chosen to do
Or
because it just
there's a
yeah, like
reason behind what they're doing.
Yeah, like if there's like good constructive criticism, awesome. Like this is how I feel like you could improve your show. But to change who you are because I don't fit in with what you think it should be, sorry, it's not happening. I guess I had to learn that growing when you're touring and stuff like that, and people are like, "You're
Mhm.
good. You should just be more metal or
Yeah.
more ska or whatever." It's like, cool, yeah. Like I wouldn't mind having some of those elements, but I'm not changing everything we've produced. It's just it's weird to me, and
Okay.
I get like a lot of people don't get that. So, but
And
yeah,
if you've lasted this long, Josh is now gonna take off his shirt and show us his third dimple.
I am not, but I
Okay.
wanted to I wanna wrap this up with doing a couple of shout outs.
Okay,
I know
alright.
we've already done a ton of shout outs. I've had this concept, I've been thinking about this a lot. Um, there's a lot of times, like we've talked about in the show, we get into our lane. We very much listen to certain podcasts or certain we don't hear about certain podcasts. I'm starting up a small segment. It's just gonna be like a couple minutes, if that. Content creator of the episode.
Okay.
I don't care if you're doing YouTube. I don't care if you're doing podcasting or
Mhm.
even if you consider you do 40,000 posts on Pidside and you feel like you should be recognized for your voice because you are literally creating content because you're on a forum like creating content. I don't remember. Uh so if you feel like you should be like you should be heard,
Recognized, if you wanna be
recognized.
recognized, yeah.
Yeah, and we don't talk about you or whatever, and maybe we don't know who you are. Send us your information. I want to listen to you.
Mhm.
The first one I'm going to bring up uh, is technology connections. This was actually brought up to my attention by uh, the HVAC technician that trained me. I had never actually listened to Technology Connections. It's a YouTube channel. It's very much like heating and air conditioning or TVs or stuff like that. But he's actually been doing pinball for. He's doing a series on pinball. And the cool part is like the very first episode he did about like what makes pinball tick or whatever 2 million views.
Mhm.
So this dude obviously has a following, he's doing really great. But I actually didn't know about this, and it's obviously other people know about this. If you haven't checked it out, very well done. And there's I wanna say there's 3 episodes so far out for the pinball stuff. So check out Technology Connections. The second shout out I wanna give, um, Todd not Todd, I apologize. Shane Told from if you've ever heard of a band called Silverstein, he is the lead singer of that band. A Toronto-based emo band, very metal mixed with some screaming, good stuff. Very punk rock as well. He has a podcast called Lead Singer Syndrome. If you haven't checked this out, it's very cool. Some of your favorite rock bands, or he even covers an array of different bands, but he brings the lead singers on. They have a discussion. They talk about, behind the scenes, maybe some crazy stuff you didn't know. He's been doing it for 9 years now, and he has a wide array of a ton of singers. Dude's way into pinball. I didn't know this, but like a month ago, we get a follow on Instagram. I'm like, Shane Told, main singer of Silverstein. Wait a minute. And so I clicked on it. Just like, is this legit? And it was the blue check mark and everything. And I was like I grew up on discovering the Waterfront, an amazing CD. If you haven't heard it, very good. If you're their newer stuff is not as emo. Let's put it that way. But their newest stuff, check out "Burn It Down" or "Bad Habits." Fantastic songs as well. But I was like, I gotta check this out. Like this is shit. So I finally messaged him this last week, and we're gonna have him on, and he's gonna talk about pinball because the dude loves pinball, and so I think this is awesome. This is it's just cool, like listening to this dude, and then he's like, yeah, I love your guys' podcast. So I'm excited. So if you haven't checked, there's two content creators both that deal with pinball, but maybe not actually talk about pinball. Technology Connections doing their pinball segments, and then Lead Senior Syndrome with Shane Told. All right, Scott. Sorry, I kind of took over there for a minute.
No, it's all good. I talk way too much most of the time, so it's good to listen to someone else.
And if you made it this far and you want to email us, because I bet we're going to get some negative comments on this episode.
It's all good. It's the best part about emails is I never see them.
I know you don't. And the funny part is, is there's some ones that we get. I'm like, yeah, I'm just throwing that one away. And then like I joke about it 2 weeks later. You're like, we got an email about that. I'm like, yeah. Do you really want me to read it to you? It's kind of stupid.
Okay, he tells me the good emails. Josh is my filter, so he keeps my sunshine going.
Yeah, well, and honestly, we get a ton of positive feedback, and so like when you get like 2 or 3 bad things, like,
I
meh.
know. Yeah,
That's how I
but
feel.
that's
Meh.
what yeah, you still hear those louder. So,
Or we might make fun of you because we don't really swear, and I don't drink.
oh,
Scott,
oh.
you get him at Expo, and
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm drinking my water right now because I'm working tomorrow.
oh yeah. But anywho, if you want to get a hold of us, loserkidpinballpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to get almost on the socials, at loserkidpinball, we're on X, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, Twitch, TikTok, yeah, all that stuff. And sorry, some of it I don't do jack with. Like our TikTok, we like released like 3 episodes at Expo last year, and that was it. So, but yeah, if you want to get a hold of us, that's the way to do it. Also, hit up Silverball Swag. Thank you to, I'm going to say, we don't get names of who buy our product, but it tells us the location. So the gentleman that bought the men's shoes, Loser Kid shoes in gray in Tennessee, you're gonna be the coolest guy in Tennessee.
Yeah.
So, or maybe it's a woman that buys men's shoes. I don't know. I don't judge. So, yeah, silverballswag.com/loserkid. Get some shoes, get some swag, get some shirts. Stern's all covered in our Loser Kid Attacks logo that was done by Michael Bernard. Thanks, Michael. Yeah, Scott, give us our last words.
Okay, I'm starting to look forward to Pinball Expo. I'm really wondering what you guys are thinking. So hopefully we'll get some feedback to see what you guys are hoping to see at Expo, and I'm definitely going to hit up. Let's make a deal.